Lee Junho has finally broken his silence, and the world of Korean entertainment is trembling with emotion. Viewers, thank you for joining me today because what you're about to hear is not just another celebrity reaction, not just another condolence message, but the raw, unfiltered, heartfelt reflection of one of Korea's brightest stars as he opens up about the passing of a legend, the incomparable Lee Soon-jae. If you're watching this, I want you to take a deep breath, settle in, and prepare yourself for a story that goes deeper than the headlines, deeper than the usual statements, and straight into the fragile emotional core of a man who has just lost someone he quietly admired, respected, and cherished from a distance. This is Lee Junho like you've never seen him before. And this is Yuna, stepping into a moment not as a co-star or industry colleague, but as someone who saw his pain and did what only someone who truly cares would do. Comfort him when words failed. Everything began quietly, almost too quietly, as news of Lee Soon-jae's passing rippled across Korea like a sudden cold wind. For many, the late actor was a grandfather figure, a symbol of longevity, a beacon of wisdom and elegance in the entertainment industry. But for actors, especially those who came after him, those who studied his work, those who admired his discipline, the loss felt even heavier. Lee Junho was among them. Although the two did not share countless public interactions, insiders have long whispered about how much Junho admired Lee Soon-jae from afar. He once described him as a pillar who held up the industry, someone whose presence made him want to become a better actor, a better artist, and a better person. Yet none of us expected that the day he would speak about Lee Soon-jae's passing would come in such a deeply emotional and vulnerable form. When the news first broke, Junho was said to be in the middle of a tightly packed schedule, preparing for several year-end appearances, drama commitments, and promotional activities. People who were with him at the time described the atmosphere as suddenly silent, like a weight had dropped into the room. According to one staff member, his expression completely changed the moment he heard it. His usual sharp, composed gaze softened and dimmed, as if the world around him blurred out. He excused himself from the group, stepped into a corner, and simply sat down, staring at nothing. Some said he didn't speak for minutes. Others said he whispered something softly under his breath, something no one in the room could clearly hear. It took hours before Junho composed himself enough to continue his schedule, but even then, those around him said something felt different. The smile he forced was tight, the energy drained, the atmosphere unusually heavy. When the cameras finally stopped rolling, he told his team he needed a moment. That moment stretched into an hour. And in that hour, he finally broke. But what's most touching in this entire story, and viewers, this is where everything takes a beautifully emotional turn, is the presence of Yuna. She was one of the first people to comfort him. Their connection has been whispered about for months, their chemistry admired, their quiet support for each other seen in almost every public event they attend. But this moment? This was not performance, not scripted, not staged. This was real. People close to both stars say that when Yuna heard about Junho's emotional state, she didn't hesitate. She stopped what she was doing, walked straight over to him, and gently placed her hand on his shoulder. For a few seconds, he didn't react. His mind was somewhere far away, lost between grief and disbelief. But then, almost instinctively, he leaned into her presence, the weight he had been carrying finally finding a safe place to rest. What makes this moment even more powerful is that Junho, despite being strong, disciplined, and exceptionally composed in public, is not someone who easily expresses deep pain. He is known for bottling things up, turning his emotions into performance, rather than conversation. But that day, he did something rare. He spoke. He told Yuna just how hurt he felt. He told her how he wished he had reached out earlier, how he regretted never expressing the impact Lee Soon-jae had on him, how he always imagined he would have another chance to meet him, to thank him, to tell him that his craft had inspired an entire generation. He confessed he felt an odd guilt. Not because he had done anything wrong, but because grief often attaches itself to the quiet corners of our hearts where unspoken gratitude lingers. Yuna didn't give him long advice or philosophical comfort. She didn't try to talk him out of his feelings or fit his grief into neat, pretty words. Instead, she did something far more powerful. She listened. She She placed her hand over his, looked him directly in the eyes, and let him know she understood. For a long time, they sat together in silence, a silence that was not empty but filled with connection, respect, and shared humanity. She reminded him gently that Lee Soon-jae would have been proud, that the best way to honor a legend is not by mourning forever, but by continuing the legacy they left behind. This moment stayed with Junho, and that is why, days later, he decided to break his silence publicly. He released a message, soft, heartfelt, trembling between sadness and gratitude, and in that message, he finally allowed the world to see how deeply this loss had touched him. He said he felt an ache that words could not hold, a sense of mourning that came not from personal closeness, but from spiritual connection. He said that watching Lee Soon-jae throughout the years was like watching a masterclass in humanity, and that every project the legend worked on reminded him that acting was not simply a performance, but a lifelong devotion. He also spoke about learning to appreciate people while they are still with us, a lesson he admitted he had learned too late, but one he intends to hold close moving forward. And although he did not name Yuna directly in his message, fans who know the truth behind the scenes noticed a very telling line. "Thank you to those who held me through this moment. Your presence means more than my words can express." It didn't take long for viewers, fans, and industry insiders to connect the dots. The beautiful part of this entire story is not simply the grief, not simply the emotional confession, but the way this moment has deepened the bond between Junho and Yuna. People who were there said that after comforting him, Yuna stayed by his side longer than expected. They left the building together that day, walking slowly, talking quietly. Some said Junho looked lighter, as if the weight on his heart had begun to shift. Others said Yuna had a calmness about her, the kind of calmness that comes from knowing you've supported someone in a moment that truly mattered. In the days that followed, fans noticed subtle changes. The two stars seemed closer, more attuned to each other's emotions during events. At Lee Soon-jae's funeral, Junho and Yuna were spotted standing near each other, sharing small, quiet glances that spoke volumes. Junho's eyes were visibly red, his expression solemn, and Yuna hovered just a step behind him, as if offering silent support whenever he needed it. One fan captured a moment, just a few seconds, but powerful enough to spread across social media, where Junho exhaled deeply, almost shakily, and Yuna gently rubbed his arm in a gesture that was both comforting and protective. That clip alone has garnered thousands of emotional reactions, with fans praising the sincerity of their bond. And this, viewers, brings us to something bigger, something emotional, something human. Grief has a way of stripping away everything superficial. It reveals who truly stands with you, who truly sees you, who truly shares in your burdens. For Junho, this moment did not just highlight the influence of Lee Soon-jae, but also revealed something quietly growing between him and Yuna. A connection built not on rumors or headlines, but on real moments of understanding and compassion. As the days pass, Junho continues to heal, to reflect, and to honor the legacy of a man who shaped decades of artistry. His silence-breaking message is now being shared widely across the world, touching millions who resonate with his words. And through it all, Yuna continues to support him, not loudly, not publicly for attention, but in the quiet, meaningful way that truly matters. To all the viewers watching this, thank you for joining me on this emotional journey. Thank you for being here to witness not just the story of a legend's passing, but the heartfelt reaction of a man who admired him deeply, and the comforting presence of someone who stepped in at just the right moment. This is not just entertainment news. This is a reminder of how fragile we all are, and how powerful compassion can be.